Okay, great. So I wanted to have this conversation about love and money with you, Chika, because obviously, in my book, The Smart Money Woman and the Smart Money Tribe is all about money, but there's a lot of like love in it. And the Smart Money Tribe, especially, I dedicated an entire chapter to love and money because I realized from going on my book tour across Africa that a lot of women had questions around marriage. Oh my God, I'm the breadwinner in my house, and what do I do if I'm married and my husband doesn't want to work? What I'm asking for a friend. What if you earn more than your husband? Like, what do you do? And obviously, like I'm not a marriage counselor. I've already failed at one marriage, so I'm not in a position to, tell other people stuff about like love and money and all of that. But I do know, like from some of my experiences, that there's certain things that you need to look out for. So I wanted to write about, what I had learned and what other women I knew had learned the hard way. About the questions that you need to ask about, love and money before you go into a permanent thing like marriage. So I just want to hear from you because I've been loving your whole hypergamy. Is it called hyper?
Yes, hypergamy. Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Hypergamy movement.
And the whole feminine energy, and you're someone I really respect. I love the work that you do, and I thought that it was important for more women to hear what you have to say, like the views that you have on this whole thing with, relationships and money. So what are your first thoughts when you think about love, money, and the African woman?
Yes. So Arese, I did research on this, right? So this is not coming from I just think this is the way things are. I did a lot of research on specifically around Black women, money, and relationships, right? And what I found out was that when a Black woman globally decides to marry a man who makes significantly less, so I'm not saying, okay, he makes, maybe you make 1.5 and he makes 1. I'm talking about like a very clear difference.
Yeah.
She loses. This is in US dollars, so just multiply it by millions. 250,000 USD. That's how much she loses.
Wow.
That's a lot of money.
But why? Why would you say she loses?
So essentially what we see is that a lot of women, so there's two things that happen. And I know you can talk about this because you've been married and you had a child within that marriage. So once a woman decides to get married, she actually starts losing her earnings, right? In the sense of if she decides to have marriage, when she decides to have a child, because at some point she has to be on maternity leave, right? Sometimes some women either lose their work. Sometimes they go back to work, but they're not at the same position as they were, right? So there's a whole period missed every time a woman has a child, which is not a problem, right? But it's just the reality. And the fact that women are already making significantly less in general than men. So there's a lot of factors that don't really go our way. A lot of women have to be flexible. So maybe they have to start transitioning to part-time. They can't work as many hours. So they're overlooked as far as promotions, career opportunities. So there's a lot of things that happen once a woman gets married and has children, right? And that's the reason why that despite her being the breadwinner, just because of how women are in general, and especially in Africa, where we're still very traditional and the man expects the woman to primarily take care of the child, there's just a lot of opportunities she's missed from an economic standpoint.
I definitely agree. Like, I think that when we're going into marriage, like, we're just taught to think about love and God, and are they, spiritually, I don't even know that we're focused that much on spiritual compatibility. I think we're focused more, are they the same religion? And those are the conversations, that we have. Like, we don't have enough conversations with young girls around finances and marriage, which is a huge thing that becomes like, a pain point for many marriages if you don't have those conversations. So in the book,
Exactly.
I talk about questions that you need to ask like your prospective partner in terms of how much do you make? Like, what do you do for your income? And it sounds like a very simple thing, but I find that a lot of people have very little like knowledge of what their partner actually does. Like, so a girl is dating a guy and she's like, he does business. Okay, honey. What is it? Oh, he's into oil and gas. You don't know whether it's upstream or downstream. You don't know what part of the value chain that he's in, but you're considering marrying this person, like making a big decision like that. And it's not that money is everything, but I think that whether you have less issues and you make less assumptions, is important for you to have these conversations. How much debt are you in? What are your what's your risk profile? Are you the type of person who's going to gamble children's school fees in the stock market?
What's your money priorities? What's your value?
Exactly. Like, so it's important to have those conversations. But I want to talk about when we talk about love and money and women, especially like in Nigeria, there's this whole thing around women being financially independent, wanting to eat their cake and have it. So men feel like, oh, you're a feminist, right? So it means that feminist written on your head means, well, why should you expect me to provide or do things for you? And I always have to explain to people that for me, feminism is about equal access to opportunity, right? I go to school, Yusuf go to school, we should have access to the same jobs,
opportunities,
money-making opportunities. So it's not I hate men, don't open the door for me, don't buy me flowers. It's I'm financially independent because I want to be able to add value to the relationship. I bring value to the relationship, but I still want to be looked after. So I don't know what
Arese, can I jump in here? Let me jump in here, right? Let me give you some tips, some schooling that even I've recently learned. So this is the challenge. This is the challenge.
Yeah.
Women have evolved. So we're now, with the feminism movement, we are now at the point of, just as you said, we want equity, we want access, we want opportunity. Men have not. So the traditional man in his masculine, if you give off, I am also in my masculine, I am also alpha. He's not going to respond to your feminine side. He's going to respond to what you gave him, right? So think about both, and I always tell people, we just had this conversation yesterday on Clubhouse, actually, the polarity, right? So relationships need to be like this at all times. So you are in your feminine, he's in his masculine, or he can be in his feminine, you're in your masculine, doesn't matter, but you have to make a decision. When both of you are deciding we're both going to be in our masculine, that's now narcissism, and you're fighting for the same space. So that is the reason why men don't naturally feel the need to provide and step in. And the energy you're giving is, I'm independent, I can take care of myself, I have my own money, I have my job. They'll be like, okay, and go ahead and do that because you're competing with me. They see you as a threat. Right? It's not, I don't think it's necessarily right, but I say a lot from a point of, we have to think about people's minds and how they work. And I've noticed that in all the relationships I've been in, the ones where I was more feminine, where I was not leading with, this is how much I make, this is my situation, that man felt more inclined to step in and provide. He wanted to step in and take care of the dates. He stepped in and paid for things, right? Versus when I led with, oh, I'm running a tech company and I'm doing this and that. So the man was like, oh yeah, go ahead now. I think
for me, like the mistake that I make, because I definitely don't talk about how much money I make or how much money I invest or things like that, like with men or on dates. But I think that one thing I'm unlearning is talking too much about work. I realized that's something that I had to find a personality, because I I could only talk about what I was working on. Like, oh my God, I just put my book into a TV series, and everything I can have a conversation, about. But for me, it was not a man or woman thing. It was just a me thing in general. But I'm learning how to, I'm trying to unlearn that so that I can talk about, my passions and my interests. And you talk about time. And I'm like, Chika, help me. I want to operate my feminine. This is why I was like, I want to have this conversation with Chika, because, like, she will put us on game. But what do you think, what else do you think are the pain points that women face when they're going into relationships, especially as African women? Because I feel like we have cultural issues to deal with as well, societal, pressures as well. Like, so I think it's a little bit different for us. So what are the pain points that that African women?
It is. I feel it's actually more difficult, right? Because in America, there's this overall understanding of 50-50 relationships. So the man brings, the woman brings, and it's more of a movement of women breaking that chain, right? In Africa, it's more of a position of traditional men understanding they're the providers, that having that pressure, and then the women's expecting to be provided for. But where the stress is coming in, I feel, is that there's a movement of women who want to be independent, that don't mind doing 50-50, but it's almost like, well, I want to help you, but I still want to be provided for. Like, there's like, I want to
like, we're not sure.
Step in sometimes. I'm not sure. So the thing is, when you come into that relationship with lack of clarity of, do you want to be in a traditional marriage, right, where your husband is fully providing, or you want to do 50-50, you cause confusion. So that's why I tell ladies, don't come into the relationship saying you want to be independent, you want to be 50-50, then you start complaining that he's not providing fully. I don't think it's an all or nothing, but I do feel that it's in your head, you have to be clear of what type of relationship you want, which is why I've been talking about hypergamy, because any man I connect with, I want them to be very clear what I want. I don't want any confusion of, a few months in, okay, well, Chika, you said you're independent, so I used to help you pay for things, but now I'm gonna step back. I don't want that. I want it to be, know your place. Me, I know my place. But as a woman, right, if you decide you want to do 50-50, or you want to help out, then you have to ask questions. You have to ask about salary. You have to ask about, projections, future, right? Because you need to understand where you're stepping in, and you need to be clear on, okay, if I'm the breadwinner, right, does this man have the ego, right, that he will step down? Yes, because that's also the issue too, is a lot of women are stepping into these relationships and they're the breadwinner, and what ends up happening over time is that man is very alpha, very in his masculine, right? And sometimes women, we naturally start resenting that guy. So it doesn't happen all at once. It happens over years, where you start resenting your husband because a part of you wanted him to step in. A part of you wanted him to be more ambitious. A part of you wanted him to provide, but it was never clearly communicated. So I feel it's very important. I have those conversations. I go really in depth.
Deep. No, but so this is from you, and this is why I feel like it's slightly different for African women, right? So I think that on the face of it, African women have a slightly more difficult position to be in, because a man will say in the beginning that he's okay with you earning more, and his ego doesn't have a problem with it. But I think that culturally and societal pressures eventually come into play, because it's his friends, saying, look at you, like, she's controlling you? Is it because she makes more money than you? Or her
Yes,
friends say,
yes,
oh, my husband did this, or my husband did that.
yes,
And so
yes,
people, our culture is not necessarily structured in a way that allows men
yes,
to put their egos aside when they don't earn as much. I personally
yeah.
see marriage as a partnership. Like, I feel like both
Mm,
people bring stuff to the table, and
yes,
it's not necessarily you know, money, and it's not about, you know, who earns more. But my own
yeah.
ideal relationship is, I
Mm.
don't want to be a liability. Like, I definitely want a partner
Mhm.
who
Yeah,
I want a partner who earns more than me, who
yeah,
is the sole provider. But in every relationship
exactly,
I'm in, I'm not interested in being a financial liability. Like, so it means
exactly.
lifestyle that I am maintaining, I can afford it,
Mm.
right? But maybe
Yes,
your extra income, like in terms of gifts and things, like kind of amplifies my lifestyle, as opposed to, oh, I want to go and eat or buy credit.
yes,
I can't do it without, you know, making a phone call. I think that's ridiculous.
exactly.
Even on with African women taking responsibility as well. Like,
Yes,
I think that we've also made relationships very transactional. It's
yep.
becoming like very normal. So it's like, oh, if he doesn't have XYZ, then no bueno. And I think men
Mhm.
have gotten used to that. And African women,
Mhm.
you know, will hear women say, oh, this guy is broke. Like, he's too broke for me. Honey, you can't even afford the roof over your head. Like, so so before you're saying, you know, someone is broke, like, you need to look
Yeah,
inward and figure out
yeah.
if you are a person of
At
value
that level.
that is at the
Mm.
level that, you know, that you're looking for.
Yeah,
And most
yeah.
times that isn't always the case. So I think I
I
definitely agree with
agree.
you. I think that it's important to have those conversations early on and not make assumptions about what
Yeah,
the other person is thinking
yeah.
or whatever.
I agree. And I would even say, take it further that I agree with you. I do feel a woman should always have her own money. So just because you're with a husband that's provider doesn't mean you don't have your own savings. You don't have, even if he's giving you money, like just like a job, a part
Yeah.
of that money should be going away to savings, going away to investments, you know, mutual funds, however you want to continue to compound that money. It shouldn't be,
Yeah.
if the marriage ends, you have nothing to hold on to, right?
I think
And
that,
for me, how I want it is more of, I definitely want to provide her husband, but my money is for me. So I'm not, because first of all, I don't want any man really buying my clothes. I'm very specific, you know. So I want to be able to do those things and, you
mm,
know, do my nails, you know, do things for me, right? But I do feel I would prefer a husband being able to take care of the bills. But those are conversations that you have. Not that you enter the marriage and you're now like, okay, let's figure out who's doing what. Like, no.
do you think there's also, so there's something I want to I'm definitely considering putting in my third book, and it's around this idea that it's okay to want to be a housewife, because I think that because
Yes.
women have become more independent, like,
Yes.
and they've gone out to the workplace more, and, you know, they become entrepreneurs and become very accepting of this new age woman, where now I feel like something has happened where it almost sounds like it's not okay to want to just be a housewife or to just raise kids, but we're not acknowledging the fact that there's some people who want to just do that, like, and that is a big job, that is a big commitment. But what I do want to start advocating for is women being like, hey, yes, from the get-go, I want to be a housewife, so I want to I want to spend my days managing my home, looking after my husband. My kids are my purpose, and they're my priority, and I think they should get paid for doing it. And I think that housewives need to, you know, start demanding salaries, right, for doing that work at home. I think that they should also be thinking about what their own individual investable assets are outside of their husband. Because you see a lot of women who they're housewives and the marriage ends and they don't know what to do because they have no clarity on the family's finances. So they don't know if their husband has a will. They don't know how much debt he's in. They don't know how much income like he brings in. I feel like it's important for women to start taking ownership of the fact that, yes, I'm a housewife, but being a housewife does not exclude me from knowing about our family's finances. It doesn't exclude me from wanting to have a portion of the household income towards my own individual, like, investable assets. I think that this is something that should become like a normal, conversation around Africa, honestly.
Yeah, I agree. And I would even say that I also feel that a housewife is like a COO, right? She's running the operations of the background, because the truth is, without sometimes that housewife, especially for high earning men that are at a high level, they can't move the way they're moving, right? I actually just connected with she's a white woman. Her husband is a billionaire. And the way, I mean, she's technically a housewife, but when she describes what she has to do from day to day, it's like, oh, like she's instrumental to his success, and he regards her as such. So that's how I would see it. I mean, for me, once I get married, I'll become housewife. Well, not really, because I'll still always have my business, I guess, on running on the background. But I'm doing a lot of things today so that those businesses are running on evergreen, right? And it's just happening. And, I'm spending my time managing the house, my children, investing in them. Michelle Obama did it too. She was a housewife, to support Barack Obama on the path to presidency. The children are now, in college, and she went back in, and I think she's making more money than him. So
I love that relationship because I feel like they've always been close to that. Like, they've always
very clear.
The goal is as
very clear,
and known when to stand down when the other is pushing forward. I think it's it's definitely like a relationship that is one of my relationship goals.
And a tip that I learned recently, why the relationship works. So I recently learned about the cycle of energies. So essentially, a woman and a man are so a woman's in her feminine, man's in her masculine, all the way up until 50, right? Then once they get 50, it switches, because as women, we are transitioning towards menopause. So we're getting pumped with testosterone, versus men are now being pumped more into the other estrogen, right? So men, as they get older, actually get softer.
Wow.
And more in their feminine. That's why a lot of these, if you notice, like all the grandpas, you notice they're very small, very calm, very,
the grandpas are still taking charge.
Exactly. So that's why it works for them. Yeah.
Oh my God, this has been such a great conversation, Chika. Thank you. I feel like people are going to learn so much from this. So yes, buy my book, guys, The Smart Money Tribe.
Yes, buy the book.
And learn more on this topic. All right. Yes. Thank you so much, Chika. I really enjoyed this. Let me stop recording.
I'm always here.